Hey folks, Ken here. Just thought I'd do a quick mid-winter update on the pond. As you probably haven't heard a lot, you probably guess it's been relatively quiet. Just out doing my usual bottom drain flush and filter clean. That during the winter I sort of stretch to 3 weeks. I do it every once or second week at the most during the summer. Everything's been pretty fine. The new media, which is in there since I think the middle of November, so pushing on for what, 3 months now. It is starting to darken a bit. I still have the bag of the old media in there, the bigger stuff. Just to remind you, it was this K3 generic or whatever media that I don't feel I was getting the benefit, and the Hel-X that I had in there now, it's a much bigger surface area, so hopefully get more bang for my buck. Because those of you that see my previous videos will know that since I set up this pond in 2020, I've pretty much struggled with it to varying degrees with nitrite during the summer season. So yeah, the pond has been going fine. I have the UV still in there. The back has been at me. I haven't need to reach over and undo the screws at the back of that panel to take it out. I will do one of these days, but it wasn't one I've been in the humour for recently. Normally I take the UV fitting out completely during the winter, but I didn't do it this time. The trickle tower, doing fine. As I said, half think of maybe putting in a second one of those. I do have the space. That will be later on in the year if I do decide to do that. See how I do with the Hel-X first. Big Blue, I did the carbon on that, probably back in November as well. So I have it turned down to 0.2 litres a minute to trickle in, so it's much lower. I find I get about 6 months out. I will just test the carbon. I was creeping up there to 0.021, I think, parts per million for total chlorine, which they say 0.02 is the most koi will be able to tolerate. So what I did was I'm able to connect up one of my pumps, disconnect the water and just pump air through it and flush it out, because what happens is particularly on a trickle, it tends to track and the water only touches part of the what do you call it, the name will come to me now in a second, the carbon, and you're not getting the full benefit of it, and it basically uses up all that carbon it's touching on your chlorine. But some people take it out and give it a shake or flush much higher volumes of water through it, just to stir it up a bit and agitate it, and it does tend to get a bit more out of it. So I'm going to check that. I did check my nitrite. I am feeding the fish, to be honest. I'll just walk out here. It's very mild here in Dublin. It's 13, 14 degrees today. The pond is back up over 10 degrees, and I'm one of those people that if the fish are looking for it, I'll feed them. Let them decide. Now definitely whenever we got that cold snap for a couple of weeks, it was down around 7.5 degrees. They weren't looking for it, not interested at all, very subdued. But now they're definitely looking for it, and you see them quite active around the window. Just to show you that Showa there, there's a thing on his mouth. It's a little bit red. I'm reasonably sure that's Carp Pox. If anyone has any ideas, give me a shout. I'd love to know in the comments. There's Carp Pox, and I do have Carp Pox. Unfortunately, that flares up in the winter. Now there's a couple of fish had it and no longer have it, and there's others that never got it. Now Mark McKinney up in Bangor, who's one of our main koi people here in Ireland, was telling me that, you know, fish he finds tend to have it for a couple of seasons and then their immune system kicks in and they deal with it. There it is again, you can see on that fella, it's classic on the Asagi. So I think on that fella's mouth, I don't think it's an ulcer. It's not red enough or raw enough. If anyone's any experience, I will keep an eye on it. My water quality's been great. As I say, when I say feeding them, I've been giving them like probably 10% of what they get during the winter, you know. It's just a very small amount of wheat germ, you know. Normally I'd give them half this container twice a day. They're getting about that much, you know, thrown in, and I leave the skimmer open, so they either eat it within a couple of minutes or it gets sucked into the skimmer. My skimmer works fairly effectively. So yeah, that's it. As I just checked the nitrite, and you know, with that bit of food, it's been around 0.08, which is perfect. I would be pretty worried if that small amount of food once a day over the last couple of weeks now, not even every day, pushed my nitrite levels into the sort of danger zone. You'd imagine the now mature media in the trickle tower would deal with that. Never mind any maturity that might be in the Hel-X, but it's just a matter of keeping it ticking over and looking forward to sort of April, May time frame and getting the covers off and enjoying the pond again, because as you all know, it's a fairly you hope you get a quiet winter, you know. I did notice the fish flashing a bit, particularly in the evening when I'm out there. Nowhere near the levels now that I would have seen when I had Costia and white spot during the summer. Now I've sort of said, oh, well, I take one out and scrape it, but then I've heard other people say they saw a bit of flashing and took fish out and there's nothing there, so I'm keeping an eye on them. Besides that guy's mouth, which I think is Carp Pox, there's no ulceration or anything that I'd be concerned about, which again I did see when I had the problems during the summer. So just keeping an eye on them. I don't know what it is, and I've checked my pH, and it, you know, somebody said to me, oh, maybe your pH is changing a bit at night and it just agitates them. It's not, from what I can see, you know, but there is something that seems to happen in the evening that agitates them a little bit, and they flick, you know, you see the very odd flick. When I had Costia and white spot, they literally would queue up to flick off the bottom drains. It was just, they were driven mad with it, especially at night for some reason. But anyway, that's it. As I say, it's ticking over, and no mad plans for the summer. To be honest, is just enjoy. I'll probably move a few fish on. I've 2 or 3 there. I'm thinking I'll move on. I might add 2 or 3 new juvies, and just, you know, I'd be in the sort of buy young and cheap, are relatively cheap, and grow them out and see what they develop into, and if they develop, great. If they don't, then I'll look to move them on. There's always someone setting up, like I was 2 or 3 years ago, happy to take a few pond fillers to get things going. Like what I'm thinking of moving on. The Gosh guy there, you can see, never came to anything. I don't think he will, to be honest. He's was okay when I bought him as a very small juvie. I think the Akamatsuba there as well, nice enough fish, big fish, but there's better examples. I'd like to get maybe another one of those and try. The Asagi's okay, although has a few shimmies on him there. The Utsuri, bit of Carp Pox, but besides that's nice. And my Shiro is slowly but surely, you know, getting his Sumi back on him. He went completely white the winter after I got him, but he's slowly but surely turning into a half decent fish. So I'll that fella I'll move on as well. That, believe it or not, that looks like a platinum ogon is a again the name will come to me, Tancho. But I bought him, I think I mentioned in a previous video, as soon as I put him into the pond, the red spot completely disappeared. It's gone completely. That's my ogon there now. Now he's a tiny little speck of red you can see on him, but that ain't going to come back. So those 3 will probably go, but let's see. I'm going back. I did my usual bottom drain flush, and I've just done that and backed out and cleaned the filter, because I'm not really feeding. It's not that dirty. And I'm going to do a quick vac at the bottom of the pond, and I have the little back piece that's usually the waterfall during the summer filled up this morning with a bit of sodium thiosulfate to dechlorinate, and I'll pump that in to top up from my flush. So just to remind you, what I do is I drain down this side completely and flush the two bottom drains in the skimmer. There's never much in the skimmer, to be honest, but flush the 3 of them in there a few times and vac it out. You know, gets a fair bit of crap out, works for me. And I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any comments on the Showa and that mouth, I'd love to hear it, or on anything else. I did succumb, by the way, and buy some the Aqua filter start gel. I put a little bit in it just towards the end of the season. I've a low, you know what, I'm really skeptical about that stuff, but I saw it and said, well, what the hell, it's worth a try. I know other people swear by it, but I'll probably, as I start to pick up the feeding in March or April, I'll dump it in and see what happens. You know, hopefully it might help. Anyway, that's it. Leave you to it and talk to you again probably in a few weeks as things are hopefully warming up and we're a little bit more active in the ponds. Take it easy. Cheers.